Welcome, everybody, to the Relentless podcast, where I find guests who are willing to commit to some type of 40-day health challenge. Now, it could be anything. It could be nutrition-related, exercise, cold plunge, hot sauna, or it could be giving up a vice like cigarettes or social media or naughty websites. Here's what happens. So the guest comes on before the challenge to talk about what to expect, and then they come back on after the challenge to talk about their experience, and we can learn from them. So if you're new here, throw us on in the background, hang out, and maybe, just maybe, I can earn my way into your regular podcast rotation. Have you watched the Vince McMahon documentary?
No, I'm sure that I would just be furious as I watched it.
Yeah, you probably would. But hey, I didn't come here. I didn't bring you here to talk about wrestling.
All right.
I wanted to kick it off with a pet peeve, which I don't normally do, but it'll be a soft transition into your challenge.
Sure.
Cool. So here's what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
One pet peeve I have.
Mm-hmm.
It's a small pet peeve, and I've actually talked about it before, but I have like a solution to it, which I think would be kind of a sweet idea. A pet peeve is like job interviews and job interview questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like one time, I think it was a couple episodes ago, I was talking about this weird question that I had. Well, I had a couple of interviews this past week, and the question was something like, "Are you a curious person?" And I said, "God damn it." Because if I say no, because I'm really not, I don't want to say no, because then I feel like a quality of like a good worker is like, how curious are you? How problem solving oriented are you? And so basically this part of the interview, I just felt out of my element. I feel like off my game, and I didn't. So here's my idea.
Mm-hmm.
So job interviews is the pet peeve. Here's my idea. And here's what brings me to like podcasting and getting into your challenge.
Yeah.
I think if you're serious about a candidate, send them over some options of the environment that you will be interviewing them. So an example being like, do you want to have your interview while playing video games? Do you want to have your interview at the driving range? Do you want to go fishing and we'll do the interview there? Somewhere where you are like in your zone and your confidence is 10 out of 10 and you can talk openly and freely. I think that is like a total money-winning formula. So if you're a company, or if this venture ends up like I have to interview people, we're going to do that. I'm going to take you like you. We would go play some video games of your choice, and then we'd talk there. What do you think about that?
I think that it would be great until I died and smashed my controller on the ground and showed that I had a terrible temper. The moment until that happened, things would go so well.
Yeah, I agree. But then they might be like, look how passionate he is.
So much passion as he destroys our work items.
Yeah, for sure. So with that mindset in mind, sometimes I'll start off with diving right into the challenge. But what I do, I know you're a gamer.
Yeah.
So I prepped some gamer type questions, scenarios that I wanted to run by. Because I'm like very casual gamer.
Sure.
But I prepared my own questions, and I've actually gotten some questions submitted when it comes to video games. So here's kind of where I wanted to start.
Yeah.
On this channel, we used to build brackets. Like if you think of like college basketball, you got your 1 seed, 2 seed, 3 seed, whatever.
Yeah.
So if you were building a bracket to determine what the best video game of all time is, I want your top 4 video games. And not just like, it can't just be Mario. It would have to be specifically like Mario Brothers 3 for the original Nintendo. So I want to give you the floor and try to compile the 4 best video games of all time.
Man, so obviously there's subconscious subjectivity here.
Oh, of course. This is Craig's. This isn't like...
So I guess, here's my question then. Am I trying to make the objective list, or is this my personal top list of video games? Because I certainly have a list of favorite video games.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I would say try to take both into an account.
Okay.
But lean more on your own personal favorite.
Okay.
So, like, an example for me would be like if I'm building one of like the best rappers, Jay-Z, I would think is one of the best, but not one of my personal favorites. But I'd probably give him some extra bonus points because of how like widely and highly regarded he is
Sure.
by just the culture.
Okay.
So that mindset, like mostly yours, but like, got to take public opinion into account a little bit.
Okay. All right. So, man. So I will say one of my favorite games of all time is also what I think is the greatest game ever.
There you go.
It wouldn't be my number one personal pick, but I do think that it is the greatest game ever. And you were so close with Super Mario Brothers 3. I would say Super Mario World.
Okay, for what system?
Super Nintendo.
Oh.
So it's the first Mario game for the Super Nintendo. I argue, because a lot of people pitch Mario 3, and I don't think they're wrong. Like, it's an amazing game.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Super Mario World took the concept of going to stages and having this like larger world for Mario, and they allowed you to backtrack.
Okay.
They added in the ability to find hidden paths in stages, so you can go back to levels and find other areas of the game. The controls are tighter, they're smoother. The game in general looks better. Of course, it's Super Nintendo, but graphics, I argue, aren't my number one choice when it comes to favorite games.
Interesting.
I would put graphics way down the list, honestly. Let's see. I would throw so some other seed picks though, to just sort of like, kind of toss some things out there. I think as far as adventure games go, The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past on Super Nintendo, another phenomenal game. People will tell you it's Ocarina of Time on Nintendo 64, but those people are wrong because that's just a poor man's Link to the Past.
Oh shit! Shots fired already. Quick pause because I've noticed. I mean, I don't know if I'm noticing a pattern, but do you have a console allegiance? Like, do you prefer Nintendo like way over an Xbox, a PlayStation, or a PC?
So these days, all throughout my life, I've always had Nintendo systems, but I've generally also, because I'm such a video game guy, have had PlayStations. I had the 360. I had, PS4, so I've definitely had plenty of systems. I would say that I am a little bit skewed and biased towards Nintendo. I've always been a Nintendo fanboy. I'm going to admit that, 100%. But I will say, as far as like, some of the greatest systems ever. Like, sure, I put Super Nintendo way up there, but PlayStation 1. Like, it's definitely not Nintendo, but I think the original PlayStation was, as much as I love the N64, especially when I was younger, like, I was like, N64 is great. Look at these amazing graphics. It'll never be better.
GoldenEye.
Oh, yeah. So good. So good. It still holds up. Like, if you go back to play it, it's still fun.
Yeah.
But the PlayStation 1 had better games.
Yeah.
It just did. And it had way more games. I think the N64 didn't really have like a giant library of games because it was cartridge based. It wasn't as easy to produce, than as CDs. And so, you also had a ton of companies that wanted to make their games on CD rather than cartridge. So they were like, see you later, Nintendo, and jump ship, know.
I didn't.
So, yeah.
I didn't know that. Learned something new.
Yeah. Nintendo, which isn't to say the N64 wasn't successful for them. They still sold a lot, But in the grand scheme of things, they lost their monopoly, Like, Nintendo was dominating everything. Their only competitor was Sega. And even then, like, Sega Genesis was a solid system, of course. But, the sales numbers for the Super Nintendo blow it out of the water. But by the time the N64 launched, and like even Sega, their Sega Saturn, nobody had a Sega Saturn.
I did, but
what?
I was the only one. I was the only one.
You were the only person.
And as a kid, I didn't know any better. It was just like what we had at my dad's house, and I was like, all right, we'll play this. And
do you remember any games on it? Like any in particular that you played? Because now I'm curious, like, because so few people had it.
So there's one racing game called Daytona USA.
Okay.
And we played the shit out of that game. We played it so meticulously that like we would set records and beat it by 0.0001 seconds. Like there was a certain way you could turn and kind of clip the wall. Anyways, so there's that, and then there was another kind of like cop game that I can't remember the name of that, but it was like a first person shooter, I think.
Was it like the railgun shooter where like everything moves around you as you stand there and shoot?
No, it wasn't that. It was like you would go into different worlds, different environments, and you were the good guy. You'd take down the bad guy. That's all I remember. But
don't know it off the top of my head.
Okay,
I'll have to look into that one.
Yeah, I wouldn't put either of those in my top 4. So let's get back. So you said Super Mario World, Super Nintendo. Which Zelda game for Super Nintendo?
Link to the Past.
Link to the Past.
Yep.
Okay.
Let's throw in something more recent. How about Undertale? Undertale is a kind of a weird. It's an indie RPG that people either love it or they hate it. Like it's a really weird game. It allows you the freedom as you're playing. You can either like kill the enemies and like get experience, or you can spare them. You can try to like, be friends with everyone throughout the game. And so like you have like a neutral run of the game. You have a pacifist run. You have what's called the genocide run, where like, you kill everybody. And like, so the story alters depending on what you do. And it's a really weird and meta game. So at the very first time I played, I killed someone, and I was like, I kind of didn't want to kill anyone in this playthrough. I never really played it before, and I never heard much about it. And I was playing on PC, and I reset the game. And so I was like, all right, well, let's just try this again. And they call this character Flowey. It's this like flower character who's kind of evil. And like, as I'm starting the game up, Flowey appears, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. And Flowey's like, Craig, why do you think that you can redo this? What makes you think that you can have an impact? You're going to do the same thing all over again. And I was just like, oh, no.
Wow.
And because the PC version pulls your personal information, from your computer specs or whatever. And so it was calling me out my first and last name. And I was just like, no. And so, I was immediately hooked. But the gameplay is interesting because it's like an RPG. So it's like kind of turn-based, take turns doing your thing. But when the enemy attacks you, it almost becomes like a shoot 'em up game, like the space games where you move around and like avoid bullets. It's like a bullet hell RPG where like the enemy's attacks come at you and you move this little thing around them. It's super weird. Let's throw that in the list.
Okay.
I don't know that it would be my top 4, but we'll throw it in there. Okay. And I don't know. God, I'm trying to think of something that's a little bit more accessible and isn't just another RPG, because that's what I want to pick. I just want to be like, Earthbound's the #1 game ever. Maybe also Chrono Trigger. Maybe also Final Fantasy VI. All these other, because that's my favorite genre.
Okay. RPGs?
RPGs,
okay.
Yeah. That's especially the old school stuff.
Cool.
Screw it. Chrono Trigger. Let's throw that in.
Sweet. So yeah, mine are so my top 4, like they're very like mainstream game. Like I said, I'm not much of a gamer, but I grew up on the Super Mario Brothers on Nintendo. So third one's my favorite. So I have to go
it's a great game.
3. And then we got a Sega, and my probably go-to game for there was just like the original Mortal Kombat. I'd always shred with Sub-Zero at a very young age. Probably shouldn't have been playing it.
No, you probably shouldn't.
No, and then speaking of shouldn't have been playing it, 8th grade Grand Theft Auto 3.
Yes.
Definitely should have been playing that. So I'll make 3 of my 4. And then with the last spot, I want to throw in Grand Theft Auto 5 or Call of Duty Modern Warfare, but I'm going to go with Astrobot. Have you played Astrobot?
Oh, that's the new platformer game for PS5 or whatever, right?
Exactly.
I've heard good things, but I've not played it.
Mind blower. I got it for my kid, and he loves it. I love it. Will, like, he's 6, so it should be like, you play, I'll watch. But I'm like, I find myself being like, let me play. Like, I want to get in.
Give me that controller,
kid.
It's
so fun. Like, it's just crazy stuff. Like, I've talked about it on here several times. It's a mind blower. So, yeah, those would be my 4. But
no Vice City.
No Vice City. I didn't. I kind of got GTA'd out after the 3rd one.
That's fair.
I did get Vice City, but I didn't play it that much. So there was a gap. GTA, then there was Vice City, and then like San Andreas. Those ones I didn't really play that much, and I didn't get back into like the gaming until, well, I played a little in college. I played the Call of Duty
Oh, sure.
first-person shooter. And then I got injured about 7 or 8 years ago. My leg, I couldn't really walk around. So my go-to, my roommate had Grand Theft Auto 5 for PS4, but I've recently gotten PS5 for my son. So I just bought it, and I've been I ran the streets a little bit last night.
So you got it for yourself, and your son just plays it, right?
Well, Grand Theft Auto, yes. PlayStation, yeah, I got it for him. We got it for him. We got it for Christmas. It was used. I was still rocking a PS3.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, I was still rocking a PS3. That's how much of a gamer I am not. So I learned a little bit about you there, video game wise. I had a couple questions jotted down.
Yeah.
You essentially answered them.
Oh, wonderful.
So because I was gonna ask you kind of like what you prioritize in a game. Sounds like graphics are at the bottom of the list.
Oh, yeah.
RPGs top of the list. Like you're a big RPG player. Cool. So I got a couple of questions that were submitted by anonymous people. First one, got it up here on my screen. Again, anonymous question, and it says, okay, so here's one. It says, "Yo, what up? It's Matt Pellegrini. I think the most enjoyable games right now are coming from indie developers," which you had mentioned. Games that take, 5 to 30 hours to play through as opposed to like a big EA or Rockstar, those big developers. Your thoughts on the indie games versus big budget,
Yeah. They are correct. They're not very anonymous now that they yelled their name out. However, indie games are, I would argue, kind of objectively where it's at these days. I think that, you're still going to get good games from AAA companies, but honestly, I think it's kind of few and far between. I think they're kind of putting out slop. They're putting out safe games that they know will sell because they're similar to previous games, and all they need to do is, like alter the terrain a bit and be like, oh, it's a new game. Look at this, I think that, like I'd mentioned Undertale, like you're going to have those great indie games. And certainly there's also going to be slop in the indie world too. Like I've definitely bought games that like I'd been told like, oh, this is fun. It's an indie game. It's going to be great. And it's awful. And they're bad. They're terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But usually you're also only spending a few dollars on those. I bought an RPG that I was told was utterly hilarious. Like the funniest thing, like to recently hit the market. It was a spoof RPG called like Breath of Death 7, which there was never any others. It was just its own game. And I thought, oh, this will be fun. Like it's an RPG, so I get to play this game and it'll be fun. It'll be funny, supposedly. And it was awful. The gameplay was bad. The humor was terrible. And but the thing was, it was only like $2. So, what's it matter?
Yeah.
Well, I guess, that adds up if you're buying lots of them. But yeah, I would say that they're absolutely correct. The indie world for games is kind of where it's at, and it's also way less risk. You're not shelling out $60 on a new game.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was surprised because it had been so long since I bought a game. I was surprised that games aren't as expensive as I thought they would be. For whatever reason, I was thinking, oh, everything's going up. To buy a game, it would be like $100. But then I looked on Amazon and I got GTA for like $25, which it's an old game.
Sure.
Fair. But yeah, I guess.
I don't understand the video game market because when we were kids, N64 games were like $60 to $80. And now, like, video games are $60-ish. And so I don't really... the only thing I can think is that the cost to make the games physically has gone down as technology has gotten better. And that's sort of what has kind of kept things at a constant price. Because, obviously the video game industry itself is going to cost more and more. People make more these days than they did in the, 90s, 80s, etc. And so, yeah, I can only assume it's just the technology has brought the price down at kind of an even rate, but I also have no idea. I'm talking out of my ass.
Yeah.
Completely ignore what I just said.
No, I will not. I will. So I was thinking with the cost of everything going up, you got to pay these game designers and everyone at your company more and more and more.
Sure.
So the fact, I mean, there's probably something to that, and it's probably comes down to like supply and demand. Like if your
Sure.
games are $100+, demand goes down, whatever. I don't know. One last question about the games, and then we'll switch gears and dive into your challenge. This one is also anonymous, and it says, "Pellegrini here again. What up? What do you think about live service games?" Do you know what that? Because I didn't know what that is. What's a live service game?
So a live service game, if it's what I'm thinking of right now, and I actually could be off on this because I'm not as modern of a gamer.
Okay.
I'm more of a retro gamer, but live service games, as far as what I'm thinking of right now, and now I kind of want to check it because I'm gonna feel like an idiot. When I'm wrong.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up while you're talking. I'm gonna chat GPT this.
Oh
man, I was trying to a live service game is a video game designed to be continuously updated with new content, events, and improvements over time. Okay, so yeah, it's the idea.
So like a Fortnite, and that's kind of what I was thinking of is the first thing that popped in my head. But technically, also MMORPGs, I guess, would sort of be live service games where you're getting updates as the game, goes on. I guess there's expansions in MMOs, so I don't know if that fully counts, but I think that if you're enjoying the game and they're producing content for it, I guess I don't have a problem with that personally. But I also don't want to play the same game all my life,
Yeah.
Though I've been addicted to MMORPGs in the past, so
What is MMORPG?
Oh, so like World of Warcraft is an MMORPG. It's a massively multiplayer online RPG.
Fair.
So you can group up with people, you play with others. It's this big giant world where everything is happening all at once. There's certainly like instanced events in the game where it's sort of just for you, but for the most part, it is all happening all at once. And I was addicted to World of Warcraft back in the early aughts. I think it would have probably been like 2000 and I don't know, what would it have been? Maybe 2006-ish or something like that. And yeah, like they're incredible time sinks of games because you have to wait for everything. If you're waiting for a monster to appear, you're gonna want to wait for it, and so you sit there in real time and just wait for the monster to appear. Or you run through dungeons and they take like an hour or so to do with this group of people, and so after like a year of being like addicted to this game where I did almost nothing but play it, it was finally like, okay, I need to set this down and step away. This is not healthy.
Yeah. Have you seen the South Park of World of Warcraft? That's all I know about it.
Honestly, that's not far off. I basically sat there and someone collected my poop. That's pretty close to what happened.
Yeah. How often do you poop, by the way? Once a day? Once a day?
Yeah, so
sorry.
No, this is incredibly important and it involves the challenge.
Oh yeah, let's get into the challenge.
Yeah, let's get into the challenge.
Great segue. Now you guys know that I don't promote anything that I don't actually use, and Gade Nutrition is something that I've been taking long before I ever had a podcast or YouTube channel. Their quercetin, zinc, vitamin C, vitamin D3 supplement has been a total game changer for me, and here's why. So I have a 6-year-old who brings home every cough, cold, flu, fever from school, and somehow I do not get sick. I've been taking this stuff regularly for 4 or 5 years, and in that time, I think I've gotten sick twice, maybe 3 times. And even then, it is so mild that I barely notice and I get over it quickly. So if you're tired of getting knocked out by every little bug, give it a shot. Go to gadenutrition.com and use the promo code CHRIS5 to get 5% discount on all orders. Again, that's gadenutrition.com, promo code CHRIS5, link in the description. And of course, talk to your doctor or whatever. I'm not one of them. I'm just a guy who experiments on himself like a human crash test dummy for health. So another brand that I've been using well before I started this podcast is Nutricost. I found them on Amazon, but now I just order directly off their website. And I have been using this beta-alanine that they have for years and years. And then I use their casein protein for like post-workout recovery. Now, if you've never tried beta-alanine, a lot of pre-workouts have beta-alanine in it, but this is like the pure stuff. And what it is that stuff that gives you like the tingly sensation in your workouts and helps push further. And then the casein protein, I use it for like post-workout or like before bed. It's really good because it digests slowly, helps keep me full, and it fuels my muscles while I sleep. But right now, through the end of April, you actually get 35% off your orders when you use the promo code Relentless. So the link is in the description. Go there and help support the podcast. So what was your challenge?
So my challenge was to cut down weight. I was going to do weight loss. Basically, it's using the Harris Benedict calculator. You punch in your age, weight, height, and it spits out a number of calories that you can consume in a day. Anything beyond that, you're gaining weight. Anything below that, you're losing weight. And so I used that to lose weight over the course of, at this point, it's been a little over 40 days.
Right.
It's almost 50 days, I think, at this point.
Yeah, very cool. Now, did you see any progress on the scale?
I did.
You did?
I did,
Super
yes.
cool. I was going to say I didn't know if it was just my brain, but I looked at you. You look trimmer.
Oh,
than
good.
the last time I saw you.
Well, I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, let's hear about the numbers.
Sure. So, and I will say, I will admit that when you're losing weight, numbers aren't going to be everything.
Exactly.
You know, your waist size is supposed to be one of the bigger things that you should be keeping an eye on, but it feels good to see the numbers on the scale go down. Maybe it's the gamer brain in me that's like, oh, number go down, feel good, you know? But you know, I started the diet at 240 pounds.
Okay.
And I in the last episode I was on, I had mentioned that my weight has kind of jumped around and fluctuated over the years. I had been as high as 280 pounds. I got as low as 160. 160 might not be something I can maintain easy enough, though my goal is to kind of get back down into that range because I bought a bunch of clothes that I want to wear again, and I don't want to have to spend the money on new clothes. Anyway, but so I did a weigh-in every 2 weeks roughly.
Okay.
The first weigh-in, I had lost 5 pounds. Now, losing weight off the bat with this diet have found it happens. Like anytime I start a diet, those first few pounds fly off. And I think it's a lot of water weight or whatever, you know, kind of thing. So, you know, you can't be too excited about it. But here's the thing. I was too excited about it because 2 weeks after that, I had only lost 1 additional pound.
Okay.
And I think what it was is I was cutting calories too much. So the goal with the diet, once I get this number from this Harris Benedict calculation, the goal is to hit the point where I'm still have 500 calories before I would cap out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going almost 1,000.
Okay.
And in my head, I was like, well, I'm going to lose weight faster. Even though I knew that starvation mode was a thing. I think I mentioned it in the last episode where I was like, well, you can't cut too many calories. But in my head, I was like, oh, I want to see the number go down even more.
Yeah.
Because I'm an idiot. And so I had only lost 1 pound. But I will say, I also, the day before my first weigh-in, had gone to, have you ever heard of, we live in the Detroit area, Schwitz in Detroit.
Never been to Schwitz.
Schwitz is a like spa sauna.
Oh.
And so
That's a Jewish term I've heard used. I'm schwitzing, like I'm sweating.
Yeah. Yep, it is a at least I don't know if it's still Jewish owned, but certainly when it was first opened in Detroit, it was, you know, Jewish owned. But so yeah, it's this like, you know, Jewish bathhouse basically in Detroit, and we a friend for Christmas had gotten us all gift cards and was like, hey, we need to go. And so when when we went, it was wonderful. It was kind of awkward because it was mixed gender hours when we went, because it was a group of us that were men and women. And so the other flip side too, which is just a little side note, it's not easy for me because I'm blind without my glasses. And so I can't wear them in the sauna. And so I'm like I would walk into a sauna and I would sit down and my friends in the room would be like, Craig, why aren't you sitting by us? And I'd be like, I didn't know where you were.
Yeah. Better than sitting on them.
I don't want to talk about it. So anyway, I had sweat out, sweat out like crazy at this, bathhouse the day before I did a weigh-in.
Hell yeah.
And then I hit 5 pounds and I was like, this is going to be easy.
Yeah.
And then I lost only 1 pound. And so I don't know if maybe I had actually only lost like 3 or 4 pounds and it just sort of bounced back a bit. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know the science there.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to weigh-ins, I was going to talk about that. Like, it's a rookie move to do. I mean, when it comes to like weighing yourself, I feel like if you weigh yourself before you take a shit, rookie move. You got to do it after. Also,
Yes.
if you weigh yourself like later in the day, rookie move. You got to do it like early in the day before you have any food. So find that sweet spot. But yeah, or sweating. I do sauna like pretty much every day. So I don't carry around too much water weight, but I would imagine that if you haven't been in a sauna a while and like sweat a ton, it would have a pretty tremendous impact on the weigh-in.
I think so. And like you said, that is a great point, because when I do the weigh-ins, I do my best to, pee, hopefully poop.
Yeah.
Not always, but generally. So like I weighed in this morning as well. Technically I was supposed to weigh in the previous Sunday because I do it every other Sunday, but I was like,
drum roll.
Yeah, so I lost 5 pounds initially. The second one weigh-in was 1 pound. And so I was like, oh, please be more than 1 pound. The weigh-in today, I've lost a total of 9 pounds.
Hey!
So I lost a few more pounds since the previous weigh-in, which
9
feels
pounds.
good. 9 pounds altogether so far.
That's incredible, man. That's so cool. You put your mind to it. You did it. You stuck with it. We texted throughout the thing. Some cravings came up.
Oh, yeah.
Because I experienced something similar, but that day you were texting me, I think it was a week or two ago, I was like checking in. I was like, how you doing? You're like, I want a fucking pizza. Now, so a couple questions. Did you end up indulging in some pizza, or what specifically, when that moment came where you had this like super strong craving for pizza, how did you mitigate it? And like, how did you like move through it?
So that's a great question. I would say mostly guilt. Because I knew that I would feel miserable afterwards. Because I had said I'm gonna not have any cheat days. I had 0 cheat days, which isn't to say I didn't eat a few like carry out meals from time to time. But I budgeted the calories for them. So what I would do is earlier in the day, I wouldn't have as large of a breakfast or large of a lunch. And then dinner time, I would have more calories to play with. And so I had Chinese food like a couple of times throughout the time. I got like it's not going to sound like it's cheating, but it's a Greek salad from the pizza place by me. But like the dressing is like 1,000,000 calories,
Like a tablespoon is 100 to 200 per tablespoon of dressing. And like, who's using 1 tablespoon of dressing?
Nobody.
I know. It's
nobody.
Yeah.
Anyone who uses 1 tablespoon of dressing has no soul.
You have no soul. You're not fun. I don't want to know who you are as a person.
Get out of my life.
Get out
of my life.
Yeah. So I'm glad you got through it. Guilt is a good way. Guilt is a funny way to do it. While you were doing yours, I was kind of doing my own thing. I had never tried. I usually don't restrict very much.
Yeah.
Other than logging my calories, I usually don't restrict like what I eat. But I was curious how I would feel if I ate meat and fruit only for the 40 days.
Okay.
I've heard about it. I've heard people do it and feel fantastic. So I was very curious. So I did it, and the episode that came out last week was with my wife, Emily. I did a deep dive. So I don't need to do a whole deep dive, but I will share what has happened twice since I've lightly introduced some grains, like some oats, some rice, some sweet potato, some things like that. First incident, we were at my mom's and we were celebrating, we were just like getting together. My mom, they had like old Valentine's Day cards they wanted to give the kids. So we
Oh, okay.
got together there and there were snacks out. And I like all of the discipline that I had in the 40 days. I just had the thought like, that looks like it would taste good. There were Frito scoops, Tostitos, these little like flatbreads, like garlicky kind of flatbreads.
Ooh.
And then there were like several dips. There was a salsa, there was a big hummus, and then there's a big spinach and artichoke dip. And the discipline that I had, like when I'm locked in, I look at that and I don't even give it a second thought. I just go past it, whatever. Don't even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I had this like intrusive thought that just like, have one. And I fucking like blacked out. My whole family's in the other room. And I'm just like, I'm doing the thing where I have like one hand with the chip dipped, ready to go. And the other hand is in my mouth with like the food that I'm feeding it. And I'm just going, nom, 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 nom. And I probably threw down at least 1,500 to 2,000 calories of just snacks in the matter of like 10 minutes.
That sounds so good.
It like in the moment, it's like, this tastes so good. Mouth pleasure. I forgot what this is like. But then it's the after. It's playing the tape through. It's like,
yep.
I wish I'd done that. And then 2 days later, it's just me and the kid. We're hanging out. We finished dinner, whatever. We're actually, I think, going downstairs to like watch a movie or play a video game. You could see it from here. I had all of his Halloween candy stashed in there.
No.
And Halloween was so long ago. And I don't even, like I said, it's the thing where when I'm dialed in, I don't even give it a second thought. It's just there. But for whatever reason, I'm like, a Kit Kat bar out of that Halloween bag sounds good.
Yeah.
And
right.
again, he was downstairs and it's just like, several Kit Kat bars, several Reese's, several Hershey's bars, I'm just like throwing it in my mouth, just like, what happened to the guy that had like some discipline? Like it just disappeared. So like two of those. And then the next day I'm like, fuck. So I'm not going back to the meat and fruit strictly, although usually breakfast and lunch, it's just that because I feel so fucking good in my brain. My anxiety is just totally gone when I don't. Yeah, it's incredible. So I do it more so for the mental benefits. And then with dinner, I'll usually do, my main portion of protein, whatever, meat, fish, chicken, whatever. And then I'll do some kind of like rice or sweet potato, whatever, and like limit everything that way. But yeah, I just thought those were wild. It's just like, I'm the same person. Yeah. But I looked at these snacks totally 180 degrees separately in two different things. It just, I thought that was worth sharing since we were talking about like nutrition and diet and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's mostly guilt is the reason why I make it through a diet, because I know that I'm going to feel awful after the fact. And so I'll and don't be wrong. Like I like, it's not to say I'm not eating enjoyable things, like in the morning I've been doing low sugar instant oats just because I don't want to sit there and make oatmeal in the morning. And the overnight oats are healthier and they're not bad, but like, I don't know, in the dead of winter, I just feel miserable eating cold oats out of the fridge. Yeah. It's so like, okay, low sugar, that's not too bad. I scoop in peanut butter. I'll throw in a banana. It's not to say that, and then to circle back to the poop, I also have the fiber.
Oh, good.
The like, the...
Is it the psyllium husk?
Yeah.
Dude.
I will say, game changer, clean wipes, feels good.
Yes. Yeah, I don't even bother to clean wipes. I have a bidet in there.
Oh, slick.
So I like taking a shit anywhere outside of that bathroom, 10 yards away in my house is miserable because like my only wipe in there is just to dry. It's dry. It's clean every single time. Just bidet.
That sounds wonderful. My apartment has not decided to privilege me with a bidet, so unfortunately, I'm gonna have to wait until I get a place.
Dude, you could buy them off Amazon. It's like this little attachment, And yeah, game changer. I forgot the brand. I think I reached out to them to try to sponsor this podcast. They didn't
They
want
didn't
to.
answer.
No, they didn't answer.
Oh.
But hey, so I would give them a plug if they sponsor, but I'm going to keep them anonymous. But just go to Amazon, bidet, and it's just like a thing. It's very simple. I'm the least handy person in the world, but I was able to figure it out, attach it in like 10, 15 minutes. And yeah, game changer. You just twist this knob. My nephew, we were having a birthday party for my son. My nephew is over here. He's 9, and he was in there. And there's like little switches on the right that are the bidet. He didn't know what to do. He thought like that was how you flush the toilet.
Oh no.
Boom! And like he shot up and he starts crying. He was like, he comes out of the bathroom because he just like took a shit. He was embarrassed. And he just comes out in tears. Bidet still spraying. He didn't know how to turn it off. So me and my wife were like, oh, it's okay, buddy. Get out. So we had to like, clean up after him. And he was like inconsolable for the rest of the night because he was so embarrassed. But
that's great.
A bidet. So in terms of nutrition, there's a couple more questions.
Yeah.
I'm getting some fun stuff. Well, this is a fun question. Say you're on death row. Very sad. You've,
It's not that sad.
committed a crime. It's a little sad. We could dive into that. I told you we might have like a deeper kind of life question. Death could be an interesting topic, but if you have a death row meal, what does it look like? What's on your plate or plates? What do you think?
Let's see. I think what I would do is I would just have a giant spread of random stuff that I just really enjoy.
Yeah.
In the Metro Detroit area, the suburbs, is a pizza place called Fat Cat's Pizza. And it is my favorite pizza place ever. And I would do their pepperoni cheese bread, throw that in there, throw a cup of ranch with it. Why the hell not?
Yeah. It's the last meal.
Maybe even order a pizza sauce with it. Maybe I'll splurge. Throw in.
It's covered by the government, so it could be as expensive.
Oh yeah, the 2 ranches. I'll also throw in either sushi, either like eel in like an eel roll, something with eel on it, or one of the eel bowls, the unagi don. Eel is probably my favorite of the sushis.
Okay.
I would probably throw in. So I'd probably throw in some kind of like chocolate peanut butter dessert.
Okay.
Peanut butter fudge, or just a handful of some kids' leftover Reese's from Halloween or whatever. They could be stale. I don't care. I don't give a shit. Whatever.
Who cares?
And
what are you drinking?
I'm kind of a boring guy. I usually just drink water.
Great.
Anyway, I find that like if I'm, eating like sushi and stuff like that, I usually want water. I feel like pop at a sushi place is not what I want. Like I don't want the flavor of a soft drink to be influencing a meal that's costing me an arm and a leg. But I will say, like pizza, throw in some like Faygo. Like throw in some like Faygo Red Pop or Orange Pop or Rocket Rye.
Oh, geez. Okay, ICP.
Can they show up for my last meal too?
Yeah, they'll be there. I waited on one of them one time at P.F. Chang's.
Oh, were they cool?
Violent J. So cool.
Oh, nice.
Smoking hot wife. Kids super well behaved. Couldn't have been more polite. Tipped me. I think I don't remember, but it was like they tipped me crazy. Like he tipped me, I think like $70.
Oh wow!
On like a $50 bill or something like that. Just couldn't have been cooler.
What a cool dude.
Yeah.
I never got into ICP's music.
Yeah,
I have a buddy who did when we were younger. And so I kind of know of them, and I've heard like their music over the years because of that. It's never like I've never hated it. I've never been like, oh, ICP's garbage. But I've never got into it. But it's nice to know that they're actually, he's a cool dude.
Super cool. I got another question for you. So I would say if I have one, I'd be like giant ribeye, crab legs, huge slice of carrot cake.
Oh, carrot cake's a good one. It's not my dessert of choice, but it's a solid choice.
Yeah,
solid pick.
It's not. It hasn't always been, but I would say over the past 5 years, it's gone right to the top of my favorite desserts.
Nice.
If you can get a good carrot cake, Westbourne Market in downtown Plymouth. one of the best carrot cakes I've ever had. So
Oh,
it's a
slick.
recommendation. So this question. Okay. I'm going to paint a picture for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. You're on an airplane.
Okay.
This airplane is a full-blown DEI airplane. So on the airplane, you have every walk of life imaginable. You have, white, black, brown, Asian, Indian, every European country, Mexico, South America. You got all the genders, all 62 of them. You got every gender. You got short, tall, medium, wide, neurodivergent. And you're on this plane. Pew, crashes. Crash landing. You're stranded on a deserted island. Do you resort to cannibalism to survive?
My initial answer is no.
Okay.
But from what I understand, and I'm hardly an expert on cannibalism, that would be weird.
Yeah, that would be so weird. What's for dinner?
Anyway, when people starve, the functions of the brain that shut down. This is what I caught from a documentary when I was younger. The functions of your brain start shutting down, and the first one to go is your emotional attachment, which means that even though right now I think like, oh, that's vile, I would never resort to cannibalism. I would never kill someone to keep my life going. But when you're starving to death, like the lizard part of your brain turns on and it's like, okay, let's do this. We need to live. Oh, wait, follow-up question. Did someone already die?
There you go. Okay, now we're getting into the juice of this. So people are kind of starting to drop like flies.
Mm-hmm.
And cannibalism, you're not the first one to be like, let's do it. There's like a gang of people that are just like, we're going to be like, not vicious cannibals, but we're going to wait for somebody to drop. And we're going to split it. We're going to divvy it up. So you're not the first one to be like, raise your hand and be like, who we eating? You are just innocent bystander in the cannibalism outbreak of, this island. Maybe it's Epstein Island. Maybe it's not. Who cares? I'll cut that out. Okay. Here's the next question.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, every walk of life. Who are you kind of hoping in the back of your mind bites the dust next because you are kind of curious how they might taste?
Some of the white people.
The whites?
Yeah, are they gonna taste as bland as they are as people?
Damn, yes, they do. So you
Wait, how do you know that?
I'm just guessing. I had some chicken last night. I would imagine white people taste like just dry,
unseasoned,
dry, baked chicken.
Oh,
no sauce. Yeah,
awful.
So I would probably resort to like, I don't really see the color of the genders, but I'm like, who is the most fit here? Like, whose who's gonna pack the most punch of like energy and nutrients? If you got someone that, maybe it's like an older person, they walk with a walker, their meat's probably not gonna pack as much punch as like, 6'3", athletic looking stud guy. We have, the testosterone in our body. So I'm probably hoping that like athletic male, whatever, the stereotype is that like a black guy's more athletic than a white guy. So in the back of my head, I might be like, not that I'm pulling for anybody to die. But
sorry, Terry Crews, but you look delicious.
Yeah, you got like muscles for days.
In more ways than one.
Yeah. So, okay, so we're going yes on cannibalism for sure. Like
so cannibalism is yes for sure if someone is already dead.
Yeah.
Because I will say I'm a miserable coward and I want to live.
Right.
However, if everyone is lasting the whole time, until my lizard brain kicks in, I don't know that I'm gonna just be like, all right, listen, that person looks delicious. Let's make this happen right now.
Yeah.
Unless they were really annoying. I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, the annoying.
Whoever it is who's really annoying. Because there's like in a small group, there's going to be someone annoying, let alone when you have a plane full of people. There's going to be a lot of annoying people.
Yeah.
Maybe all of them.
Yeah. Here's a question.
Yeah.
Annoying people. So I feel like every group, you're going to have bad eggs.
Oh, sure.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter where you stand politically. Doesn't matter where you stand, what your ethnicity is, whatever. Every group has bad eggs. Do you think people are trying their best? If you were to isolate any person at random, would you be able to confidently say that person is doing their best?
I think in their own heads, they are. Like, I think in their own subjective mind, everyone probably thinks I'm doing my best, damn it. But people aren't doing their best, obviously. We're in an awful place in the world, and at the end of the day, you know, which me too. Like, I'm not doing my best. Like, I could be helping so many more people, but I'm not because I'm selfish. But in my head, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing my best.
Yeah. Well, it could be argued, counter-arguing. And I don't even believe this. I'm just like, well, maybe if you knew like you could be helping more people, maybe if you had more experience with helping people, or maybe if your past was shown more that like helping people equals this result in my brain. So therefore I would be more inclined to help people if I had this specific example. So maybe like everybody is doing the best with like the information they're given.
Now I feel worse because I've donated my time to help people. Like you and I both have gone to what was it?
Gleaners or something.
Gleaners, yeah. The food bank.
Yeah.
And we helped. We moved things around. We threw things in boxes. We handed out food we even handed out food at a food drive.
Was that Focus? I don't remember. We volunteered
the names
a lot,
I don't
though.
remember. Yeah, you and I had volunteered quite a lot at Spaceship Mortgage Company.
Yeah,
that shall remain nameless.
I'm not even wearing their shirt or drinking their coffee mug.
I had looked in the closet to see if I had the shirt, and I was so gonna wear it.
Yeah, dude, I have another one. It's a volunteer shirt, but
that's what I had.
It says volunteer, and the O is the symbol, the logo.
Oh,
yeah, but it's like
it's
a size too small,
Aww.
and like I don't need to be breaking out, the guns on the podcast. Yeah. I don't need to be breaking out no guns on no podcast. Yeah.
You probably should have.
I could have. Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah. Clickbait. No.
But yeah, we have helped people, and I don't volunteer.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
Because I'm a bad person.
That's a really good answer.
Because I'm not doing my best.
You're not doing your best.
Because I'm a bad person.
Yeah. That's a really good answer, dude. I've heard this conversation had. There was a conversation, I think it was with Brené Brown and Russell Brand, and they were talking about this. Do you think everybody's doing their best? And the consensus they came to was, it doesn't matter what I think, but when I assume and I truly believe in my heart that everybody is, my outlook on life is much better. And that's probably like the right answer.
I don't love that answer.
You hate it.
I hate that answer. Don't get me wrong. I think that in a sort of self-reflective, trying to be positive way, like I get it. You don't wanna look at people and think pessimistically.
Mm-hmm.
I get it. But well, I do. And so yeah, no, everyone's awful.
Yeah.
I'm awful.
Yeah.
You're awful.
Yeah.
Everyone. It's a shame.
Yeah.
It sucks. We should all be helping more and doing more to assist those in need, but we don't.
Yeah. I'll say everybody has awful. How much you play with it and act upon it is on you.
So because I'm not killing and eating people, I'm really doing a bang up job.
I think you're doing a pretty good job. I think
I like that. I feel better.
Yes. But if you're given the situation, of course you're going to eat the tall, athletic person. Like, why not?
You're right. I should be killing and eating people more often.
Yeah. couple more things
Yeah.
on the food. I just found this study fascinating.
Mhm.
Back to the nutrition stuff, not eating humans and not your death row meal, but this was a study that the NIH did,
Mhm.
and they went into a juvenile delinquent center
Okay.
and they swapped out all the food for like healthy whole food shit. Now, I don't have on me, like, I don't know exactly what foods were there, what foods weren't there.
Yeah.
The way I understand the study, they took out the bad food, put in good food.
Sure.
As simple as that. And what they found, astonishing. And I have to share it. NIH study swapped out bad food for good food. They saw a 97% reduction in behavioral issues, 75% reduction in like restraints, people having to be restrained, and a 100% reduction in suicides and suicide attempts. And that to me is very fascinating. Then the study went on to talk about just what we're looking at here as a country and the fact that like autoimmune diseases are up 100%, mental health issues are up 80%, autism is up 1,000%, and ADHD, whatever, is up 200%. And why we're allowing all of this garbage into our food is kind of frustrating to me.
Mhm.
And I see I do these little experiments like with myself, like with the meat and fruit thing.
Yeah.
And I do it as objectively as possible. And I realize it's only me that I'm doing it on.
Sure.
And sure, I have my preconceived notions and my biases. Like if I'm doing it, like I want to see results.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I try to like push all that aside, be like, well, how am I actually feeling? Well, I can say like when I reintroduced these like seemingly pretty like harmless things into my diet, like I have this like generalized anxiety disorder that like a psychiatrist prescribed, like whatever, who fucking doesn't? But I've like, if I see this like 20% increase in my anxiety just by when I added like oats, rice, and sweet potatoes, like what if I'm like daily like doing what I did at the dinner the other day and just like inhaling all this food or inhaling all this candy? Like I just see these like spikes and I'm like, man, and like my son, you know, he just got diagnosed with ADHD, like, and it's like, what can be done? I just ponder and I don't have a solution and I don't even know where I'm going with this. I just feel passionate about it. It's like, what can be done to impact like not only mental health, but like the autoimmune diseases and like, and just their general like sense of well-being with food alone.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if food alone is causing, you know, ADHD to go up 200%. I think there's a bunch of factors, but like,
Sure.
like, man, I just wish like if there's like one person out there, like listening, like one person who's just like, man, I want to try that. And they try it and they go, holy shit, I got rid of eating Lay's chips every single day.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like I don't fucking like I don't have this sense of impending doom anymore. Like
Yeah.
I feel better. And I like it just like a chain reaction. I don't know. I don't even know what made me like share that. I just like heard that. And since we're talking food and stuff and just, you know, my struggles with like, you know, mental well-being and like my son, just like, I just feel very passionate about it.
Well, I think that food, like you said, it's not going to be the only thing that impacts health, but it is, I mean, it's what you're putting in your body every day. And so, you know, it is going to have an impact, to be sure. I also too wonder, like with that study, you know, it's a juvenile correction center, and, you know, people came in and went from feeding them, I imagine, slop.
Yeah.
I'm not going to assume it was gruel, but, you know, like they weren't getting high quality food.
Scoop.
Yeah. Just off-brand gruel for the poor, you know, kids that, you know, whatever. But so I wonder too if some of the impact is not only the food and the health increases, but also the fact that you have people coming in and showing care for them. You know, like there's also that aspect, you know, because it's not like, you know, it's not like the food just magically changed overnight and they gaslit the kids and were like, oh yeah, blah, blah, that's always been this good, kids. Like, you know, they went from getting crappy food to something that was healthy and good for them, and probably, I would imagine, tasted better. Maybe not. Maybe that's more subjective, but I more care and quality is there in the food, and so that also, I think, has an impact.
Yeah.
If you give your kid every day like a nutritional supplement, and you're like, here you go, Junior, this is going to really help your well-being. Well, okay, yeah, maybe their body to a certain extent, but now you're not preparing your child's food. You're not having meals with them. Like that would be a very negative impact in the long run, And so, yeah, I don't know. I think that you're right in the sense that, food is important, but it's also a hell of a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're so complex. As you were talking, I was thinking, I had this conversation with my boss the other day, and I had this bottle. It's from AG1, that green scoop. It's like a greens powder.
Yeah, I've seen those.
And I've ordered them before. I hang on to the bottle just because I like the bottle. But we were talking about, he's like, oh, do you do the AG1? I'm like, I have. I actually went and bought like a much cheaper version of it because it's really expensive. And we were just talking about, he's like, yeah, I tried it, but I have some condition where my body can't process vitamin K. So I consume this powder that's supposed to be like a miracle cure. It's got prebiotics, probiotics, every vitamin, nutrient under the sun. But everybody's so different that like he drinks it and he gets like blood clots and his blood doesn't like coagulate or whatever he said. He's got this like blood thing.
Man.
He consumes vitamin K. His body doesn't process it normally. He has all these adverse effects. So like, I think that's just like so fascinating that, unless you have a doctor, not to get on like the medical system, but unless you have a doctor that's like doing blood tests and testing all these kind of things that I don't even know about. Like, you could think you're doing something that's good for your health, and meanwhile, you got a kidney or a liver or a lung, something that's not processing right, and you could be like fucking yourself up more than anything. So
yeah. Absolutely. It's kind of scary to think about, like, that you have all these things that are important for like the building blocks of existence, protein and all these vitamins and stuff. And yeah, what do you do when you can't process something like that?
Yeah.
You go without it. You hope there are other alternatives. Like maybe I don't know about your boss, but like maybe there's like kind of supplement alternatives that replace the vitamin K or something. I'm not a doctor, so I have no idea. But
yeah, Dr. Craig.
I wouldn't trust Dr. Craig, but I also don't mind if you hire Dr. Craig.
Yeah, true. I'll take a doctor salary any day of the week. I don't want their workload. Gosh, last few times I've been there, it's like they just sweating and just like, what do you need? Just like, I feel like they're just like churning out patients like crazy. They got like
really
my kid's pediatrician. Like,
oh, I could see a pediatrician.
Yeah, they just like,
I have just a family physician, like general practice or whatever, and yeah, he pops in, he's laid back, he's like, oh, hi Craig, how's it going? Shake his hand.
Yeah, nice. Hey, speaking of doctors, death. We talked about death a little bit.
Yeah,
and we talk about cannibalism, of course.
Oh, always.
Like, obviously, every podcast should talk cannibalism and death row meals. What do you think happens when we die, and what do you want? Like, if you could decide what happens when you die, what would that be?
What I would want to happen is heaven, of course. Like, or even just like another shot at things. Like, hey, I don't know that reincarnation in this world would be nice, but throw my soul into another world, like some kind of fantasy world, video gamey world or something, whatever. Yeah, that sounds fun. That would be swell. Heaven, of course, would be swell. What I think happens? Nothing.
Black.
Solid black.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's just over. Done.
Just like before you were born.
Yeah. The void that you spawn from then claims you. I don't think that's a comforting thought. And I'm an atheist, that's just what I believe. But yeah, I think nothing.
Yeah. I always wanted to be an atheist, but I never felt like I was smart enough to be an atheist. Because I always saw these atheists, and I'm just like, they would talk so slick about like the non-existence of God, and I'd be like, I'll never be able to like learn all that. Like it seems like with every counterpoint, there would be like another counterpoint. So I never felt like I was smart enough. But I just am so ambiguous when it comes to, I don't even know if ambiguous is the right word.
Agnostic, would you say? You just don't know?
I think I'm agnostic, but I don't know. I find, here's what I find, because in sobriety it's a lot about finding a higher power, any power that's greater than yourself. That yeah. So that's what I do in sobriety is about 12 steps, and I found that like just at least pretending, and higher power, that's where it gets misconstrued. That's when it gets thrown in with like religion, like it's got to be this like specific thing. The 12 steps is just like you choose your own conception. So I've talked to people who are like, yeah, nature good enough for me.
Yeah.
It's greater than myself. I had nothing to do with that tree growing over there. I had nothing to do with this lake, So I like that. And then like just some people use the fellowship of AA as a whole. And they're like, this is a room full of 60 to 70 people who all once couldn't stop drinking and now are not drinking.
Mm-hmm.
That's much greater than myself. I use that. So like,
yeah.
But all that being said, I find that like when I do like at least pretend that like I'm not the end all be all, and that when I like pretend that there's something else, what that is, I'll never be able to like draw it on a page or define it. When I can like think that there's like something outside of myself, at least pretending, like what happens within me is I stop trying to like control things so much. Like to me, control and like letting go is like a big part of it. And I don't necessarily need like a Jesus Christ or like a Buddha or like a Allah. Like I don't need that to just know that like, okay, when I can let go and know that something else is doing all this, then it's just like I get this feeling of like like my brain quiets down, and I can be so much more useful to other people, and I can like make better decisions. What happens after we die, I don't know.
You don't know?
I have no idea.
Just there's not anything so what would you hope?
What I hope is something similar to what we're what we're taught as children that heaven is like. I wouldn't want to relive life necessarily. There's some appeal to that, but I like the idea of just like a different dimension where the constraints of time and space don't have such an impact on everything, and the concept of me versus the other aren't as prevalent. Like it's kind of more of like a symbiotic. There are different entities, but there's not as much boundary. There's not as much separation between us and them. And, if I could, be reborn, like, is not, if I could like casually smoke pot in the afterlife, that'd be fucking cool. Rather than like, smoking pot and having to like take over my entire goddamn life, or like drink a beer without like, finishing a whole case. That would be sweet. I would like to know what that's like. But yeah, I would think that.
Yeah, I think that it's a comforting thought, and I think that you had half jokingly said that atheists are too smart and you can't go down that road. But I don't think you need to worry about like, I think that a lot of atheists, and maybe even just people with strong beliefs in general, get it in their heads that they need to defend their point. Like if someone came in, or even if you had said like, clearly there's proof of God, you're stupid, Craig. Okay, well, yeah, I might want to say like, well, let's chat about it. Let's debate this a bit, but really in the long run, it doesn't matter. Like you being comforted by the idea of a higher power is good for you. And I'm happy for you that you have that. That's swell. I don't believe in that, but it doesn't impact me in the slightest that you do. I think if you were trying to impact me. Like if you came in today and you're like, oh, Craig, we have a great show for you today. We're going to convert you. Like, okay, yeah, that might be weird and I'd be uncomfortable and I wouldn't like it. But I think so long as your beliefs, no matter what they are, aren't impacting those around you, then it's fine. It's the moment that those beliefs need to be inflicted upon others, no matter their form, is then there's an issue, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Any recommendations in life or anything that Craig does that Craig would say to just a bystander right here that Craig would be like, I like doing this because it helps me in this way? What would you recommend, Dr. Craig?
Dr. Craig definitely recommends CVS brand fiber powder. How's it pronounced?
Psyllium husk.
Psyllium husk. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a big one for me. I feel like that was a game changer. I think that in the long run, people don't. I would recommend not stressing about there's a lot of fad diets. There's a lot of, like, oh, if you don't take this supplement, you're going to, get cancer and die. Like, people are selling you something when they're doing things like that. I think so long as you're doing what's best for your body, and it's at least somewhat enjoyable. Maybe not as enjoyable as, Fat Cat's brand pepperoni cheese bread or sushi, every day or whatever. Like, I think so long as you're eating somewhat healthy, you're managing your calories, you're not going too crazy on carbs or too crazy on fat, I think it's fine. As far as other recommendations go, I'm trying to think of, like, other things, like, from the diet I've been on,
Yeah.
I'd seen something online that had jokingly referred to, I think they called it like girl dinner. It was like eating crackers and cheese and meat and stuff as like your dinner. That's kind of been one of my mainstay lunches for the diet. Is usually what I do is I throw in like turkey pepperoni, a few cheese sticks, and a bag of almonds and an apple in my lunch, and that's the lunch I have.
Sounds great.
It's not bad. It's fine. Is it a hoagie or a grinder or a Philly cheesesteak or something? No, unfortunately it's not. But, it's healthy and it's enjoyable enough and it's fairly well balanced. Maybe I should throw in some like veggie sticks or something to kind of round it out a bit. But that's typically been my easy go-to lunch, lately. And so, yeah, I guess I would recommend things like that. Like whatever you like, whatever it may be, just sort of break it apart, take out the carbs or cut down on the carbs, depending on what it is. And, throw it in your lunch bag and go to work or have it for dinner, or whatever. So I guess those would be my recommendations.
Cool. One last question.
Please.
And we'll blow out of here. Do you have a goal weight in mind on the track you're at right now?
I don't know that it's a reasonable goal weight, but I would enjoy hitting 160 again. That was not only the trimmest I still wasn't like scrawny. I still had like a little bit of a gut, I think though that felt good. If I can maintain that, that'd be great. And I would have access to all those clothes I bought when I hit the lowest point I had that I was really excited about.
Yeah.
I think that would be ideal for me. Maybe not even in a health sense, but in a vanity. I want to look good and I want to feel good mentally, and I want to not have to buy a whole new wardrobe.
Okay. We had talked about Sexy Craig last time you were here. Sexy
Craig.
What is the number on the scale that you would say Sexy Craig is here?
So Sexy Craig was unveiled, I think, at 170 to 180.
Okay.
I think I might have waited until I was the 160.
Okay.
That actually might be the case. Actually, no, I take that back. It wasn't, because I had taken photos before then. My diet wasn't done when I had some of the Sexy Craig debut photos. the SCD, if you will.
SCD. Well, the reason I ask is I know like Sexy Craig too. It's a mentality. It's not like once I hit this way, I am now Sexy Craig. It's mentality. You're Sexy Craig now, to be honest. But here's what I want to know, because I want you to come back on here when you hit your target, whatever your goal is.
Okay.
Would love to have you back on because the people need to see, and I want to see, and yeah. So whatever that number is, we don't have to reveal it right now, but I want to have you back on here when you hit whatever kind of goal your mind. It could be 200, could be 180, could be the 160, but whatever you think, we should do that.
Yeah, we'll coordinate that. I feel like, oh man, it might be a while. So if hold on, maybe this is a spoiler, but if it took me about, almost 2 months to, well, no, maybe like a month and a half, I guess. It's between 40 to 50 days. So we're looking at like, almost a month and a half roughly, right? Sound about right?
Yeah.
If in a month and a half I lost about 9 pounds. So let's see. I would need to lose an additional I might be quite a few months.
Well, that's fine. Well,
the
the Relentless train isn't going to stop. So I'm going to stay here. We're going to try to get some brand new guests. I'm working on a couple that I'm really excited about. But yeah, it's going to keep going. It's going to keep flowing, the train.
Wonderful.
So if it's 6 months out, if it's 9 months out, doesn't matter. We're gonna have you back in here. And
awesome. Yeah,
catch up.
I will. I look forward to it. Hopefully the listeners and viewers appreciate hearing my voice one more time. And thanks for having me on. This has been great.
Yeah, always. Thanks, brother.